Hey y'all, IrixGuy here, and several of you asked, are like, hey man, what are the various video modes for the Mavic Air? Now I've got the most current DJI Go app version, and I've got my Mavic Air powered on. Obviously I'm not flying right now for this tutorial. But to select the video mode, see right above the red record button towards the right, there's that little icon. If you click it, now it looks like a camera. So that's your still photos. And you click it again, it looks like your video camera. So directly below the red button, there's those little lines. There's three of them. I'm gonna select that. And now what we can see here, we can see that I'm in auto. Now for my videos, I stick with auto. It seems to work very well with the Mavic Air. I go to the next icon. It looks like the camera. Not to be confused with camera mode. We're still in video mode. But for video size, we've got several options. If we select video size, we've got 3840 by 2160. So that's 4K Ultra HD. And you can choose among 24 frames per second, 25 frames per second, or 30 frames per second. Now, all the videos of my Mavic Air that I've filmed so far, I've used the 4K 30 frames per second. Now, there's also lesser video mode. So if you step down to 2.7K, then you're presented with a series of options: 24, 25, 30, 48, 50, or 60. So with that higher frame rate, say for example 60 frames per second, if you want to do some retiming of videos in post-production, so speeding it up and or slowing it down, that higher frame rate may benefit you. And then if you just want to step down to full HD, which is 1080p, 1920 by 1080, you can go all the way up to 120 frames per second. So to get that really super cool looking slow-mo, if you recorded something at 120 frames per second, that could look really cool. And then we can step it down even more. We can go to 720p, which is 1280 by 720, but that also maxes out at 120 frames per second. So if I was going to do the maximum frame rate, I would probably stick with 1920 by 1080, which is full HD, and do 120 frames per second. But for daily use, I'm going to use 3840 by 2160, which is full HD at 30 frames per second. And you can choose the other modes if you want to. Some people like 24 frames per second because they say it looks more cinematic. That's a matter of personal taste. So let's back out of video settings, and we're going to see we've got a few more options. Video format, I've got MP4 or MOV. I don't know if there's an advantage to one over the other. I chose MOV because I'm a Mac user, and MOV is kind of the Mac video file format. White balance, you can do auto white balance. That's what I've done. It's worked really well. But obviously, you've got other settings: sunny, cloudy, incandescent, fluorescent, custom. So if you really want to tweak it, you can. For the style, I selected none, which is just standard. But you can adjust that, and there's a lot of people. There's actually a lot of tutorials on YouTube where people say these are the optimal settings, and they'll step you through what they feel are the optimal settings. Now, I haven't modified that, and I've been super stoked with the quality out of my DJI Mavic Air's camera. And then you can go to color. You can select Sin-like or normal. I'm just using normal. Now let's jump over here to the gear icon. You can do histogram. You can do, there's several settings in here. I'm not even using these. Grid. You can put a grid up if you want to. The rule of thirds. If you want to utilize that, you can put a grid up, but anti-flicker off, haven't messed with that. A few settings and a few more settings in here. While I'm in here, I'm going to go ahead and format my SD card because I already downloaded everything. And internal storage, format that. So now let's jump over to still camera. So we're going to click the button right above the red record button. Now you notice it looks like a still camera, a stills camera, instead of a video camera. So when we go over to the far left with that selected, we've got, we can select auto or manual. Again, I'm using auto. I feel that this does a really good job in auto mode. We bump over to the next. Now there is something I selected in here. So you've got photo. You can select several modes: single shot, HDR shot, multiple. The HDR, the high dynamic range, with this drone looks really, really cool. You can select pano, time slot, AEB. Not sure what AEB is. I'll have to check. But there's several settings in there. The image size, 4:3 or 16:9. you know, traditionally in the past I've used 16:9, but now I just use 4:3, and the reason being is that with a 4:3 aspect ratio, I'm getting the maximum quality, and if I want to crop it within post and make it a 16:9 image, you know, eliminating some of the fat from the photo, I can do that. But I like to stick to 4:3, even if I'm snapping photos that'll be utilized for YouTube thumbnails, etc., that are in that 16:9 aspect ratio. So I'm keeping that on 4:3. The image format, I did change this from the factory settings. I do JPEG plus RAW. Now, this may not be for everyone, but at a high level, if you're shooting photos that you feel you may want to touch up in the future, even if you may not possess a skill set now that you feel is necessary to modify a RAW image, you can at least go ahead and collect JPEGs and RAW images. So it's probably smart. I mean, unless storage space is a concern, it's probably smart to just do both, and then that way you've got the RAW images as well. So, you know, to summarize, if you edit a say an Adobe Lightroom CC or similar application, if you edit a RAW image versus a JPEG image, you're going to have a lot more in-depth editing capabilities if you're editing RAW instead of JPEG. So just a little tidbit of information there for you. And now we can go over to white balance. You've got auto, similar, you know, the settings like you had for video. And then for style, you got several styles like you did for video, you know, if you wanted to tweak that. Again, I'm just using standard for that. And then for color, you've got normal. Not any additional settings in color, so that's interesting. Video did offer some more settings. So that's, and we'll go over the gear here, and you can see you've got several other options you can flag in here, but so that's it. Hope this video is of value. Several people asked me, they're like, hey man, which video settings do you use? And hey man, what's you know, what all can be customized within the video and camera settings? So that's it. At least that's it with the current version of the DJI Go app. Today's date is February the 7th of 2018. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe, youtube.com/IrixGuy. And check out my website, epicdroneshow.com. You can find the Mavic Air, the Mavic Air accessories, and a whole lot more there. Y'all have a good day.